find the more I give myself time to think of how to express myself or how to say something, the worse it gets, because I need more time. And then it becomes a vicious cycle of, I'm not ready to do anything. I'm not ready to speak. I'm not ready to go out. I'm never ready. When am I ever ready? When am I ever good enough? When is it ever good enough? But, yeah. So many topics, so many things that I wish I could talk about with somebody. I don't even think expressing this to therapists or psychiatrists or religious people or friends or family, I don't think trying to discuss these things would cut it, and obviously the best route would be to journal, and that's what I'm planning on doing. I do journal, except if I wrote down everything that came to my mind, everything, and I don't mean just simply how I feel, but a lot of theories, my observations of things, it's just endless. It's like I could get lost in it, and then I cannot find my way out, and I cannot pull my body out of this mess. And once I'm in that spiraling like downhill abyss, I find once that happens, it's very hard to pull my body or pull myself back into myself. And I feel like it has its purpose to go into this trance-like state. I guess you could call it trance-like state, but I literally feel dizzy. I feel like this, like, swirling in my head, and my eyes feel like they're just far out and expansive. It's like I feel blind. I don't know. Come to think of it, I sometimes wonder, is this how somebody would feel if they had no eyes, like, at all? Like, because I feel like they're sort of projected, my eyes, out here when I end up in these states of mind. And when that happens, it's hard to bring my eyes back into my skull. This feeling, it's a very physical thing, and also here feels quite hard to describe. It's just, I speak more than one language, and it doesn't matter how many languages you speak. There are just some concepts, some things that cannot be expressed. Like, for instance, something as simple as, for instance, the French don't have a word for knuckles. It doesn't exist. They have a word for fingers, hand, wrist, but they don't have a concept for the word. Yeah, the word knuckles, it does not exist in French. And if you have things or concepts that don't even register in this modern society, even in religion, certain religions, imagine the infinite possibilities of names and labels of concepts to things that do exist. It's endless. And I find that one way I've managed to make sense of this world is by naming everything that is unnameable. The problem is with this kind of mentality is a lot of the time the things I say sound absurd, potentially would seem absolutely offensive. I don't mean in the most common sense. Like, I don't really go around stereotyping and labeling people of certain backgrounds or anything. I just give silly names and I sort of coin my own terms and create my own language to describe things or patterns, or structures sometimes observed in human behavior. And it doesn't have to be the truth, but I don't know, I've been doing this for years now. Actually, I've probably been doing this maybe all my life. And there's nothing wrong, I think, with that. But in a society, if I mentioned everything that was on my mind, everything, even if it's as a joke or under the guise of some kind of weird, surreal, observational humor, I don't think people would appreciate that. And the only person I've been able to truly describe these things are people I've forged very, very close friendships with, relationships, but they have to be close, not necessarily in a sexual way, but they have to be close. There has to be this mutual understanding, and I feel a bit alone actually in this world because I've yet to meet another like woman like me, or female or whatever, that can actually sit and stay in a conversation and be interested in what I have to say. Maybe the only person that the women that would have in the past have listened to me and taken in my ideas, they would have listened, would have been the people in my family, meaning my mother and maybe one of my sisters. I find that the women in my family are quite masculinized, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's not an obvious masculinity. It's not like being a bunch of feminists, and that's a bad example because I have my own personal views on feminism, which would disagree with the latest form of feminism, because I don't stick to any group or religion that is reactionary. At least I try not to. I understand there's still oppression in this world, but look, if I had to give a disclaimer for every single thing or every single concept I said, we'd be here till tomorrow and nothing would get done. Then again, nothing is getting done by me discussing these concepts, topics. I can't keep giving disclaimers. I've noticed people of our generation, young people today, anybody that is, some people would call them trendy, doesn't matter really, but just our generation as millennials, doesn't matter whose side you're on, leftist, rightist, centrist, east, west, gender. See, the more I describe things and try to get to the point, and then add disclaimers, I then get lost, go around in circles, trying to get back to the original point. I keep getting lost on these tangents. frustrating. I'm also very, very tired, because it's like 5 to 7 in the morning and I have not yet slept. Why do I do this? Because I find when I am sleep deprived, sometimes, not always, I reach a sort of state of lucidity where I feel like if it's peaceful enough, and I feel this, I basically feel really compelled, like really, like not forced, but like literally pushed, like shoved to talk about these topics. Maybe I'm just insane, but that's a bit of I don't know if it's an understatement or an overstatement, because when people go around saying I'm crazy, they usually strike me as like, yeah, right, you're crazy. It's the people that run society who put on this mask of sanity based off the current social values that strike me as clinically insane. I don't know how they do it. Are they snorting cocaine like every single day to get by at their jobs? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how people get by in ignorance, really. I've already lost my trail of thought, but I guess I was talking a bit earlier about, yes, the women are somewhat masculinized abstractly, not literally, although it might vary. I guess like some people would say men are seen as feminine if they play instruments and write, or are careful with their words and intonation and are not big and burly. I don't think that's a sign of femininity in men, because like true masculinity is sort of, it's not based off simple physical appearances. Same with true femininity, it's not based off simple appearances, although masculinity and femininity can be enhanced with social and biological markers in your sense that make you look male or female. And I find that if you're one of those people that sort of I'm not going to use labels because I create my own labels and I don't buy into a lot of labels, and none of it's really surprising to me. Like I thought I was basically trans before the transgender stuff became big on the internet, before it became a meme, before it became this like fascinating thing that some people ogle at. Not all people. I'll admit I am probably was one of those people that for a short while I was very curious about it, and I think I've outgrown it. I've noticed some trans people complain that they're seen as fetishized. Well, it's an unfortunate, but like anything can be fetishized, really. I'm not saying it's good. I mean, it sucks, really, when you're only seen for your external appearances. It does get quite confusing, though, if you have all the markers for being female and then you're not a female, though. I suppose that must be frustrating. I don't know, I can't imagine that. But I'd consider myself to be somewhere down the middle. Never really identified like continuously as some hyper feminine woman in the most obvious sense, but at the same time I've never identified as somebody hyper, Well, that would be totally weird for me. Masculine either. Same in my social interactions. I think my neutrality has come off as, I mean, maybe I'm not neutral, I'm probably biased. I might be very, very, very biased. Another disclaimer. Why do I use disclaimers every 2 seconds? It just delays getting to the point. Not the point. Not the point. Yeah, I find that my sense of humor is a bit too gritty, too biting. It has been really sarcastic. It's starting to get old. I can be so serious. I think I sort of drown myself abstractly into some pit of existential depression. And I'm not sure if many. I don't want to say say women. I'd rather say, like, I don't know, female people, feminine people. But then again, I can't really apply it to gender because men, maybe most men don't experience this either. I feel like I've experienced multiple times in my life, way too young, maybe around 10 years old, then after 9/11, when I was 11, or 9, well, no, 10, 11, something like that, and when I was 18, and then when I was 21. I've gone through phases where basically I had a quarter-life crisis. Apparently that's a new term now, like, over the last few years. But they didn't have anything like that when I was going through it. Everything that's kind of happened to me, people would start talking about it basically months or maybe a few years later after I'd gone through something that at the time I've never been able to discuss any of my feelings and opinions and how I feel about society and how I relate to society, because at the end of the day, yeah, I've already lost track of my thoughts again. Where was I? Because I'm really, really tired. Existential crisis. I don't know many young. I'll just have to use a point of reference for the sake of the argument. I don't know many young women, youngish women, who've openly discussed this. Like experiencing existential depression. Maybe they experience it. Maybe some men experience it as well, and they also don't discuss it. Or they experience a quarter-life crisis, which is similar to a midlife crisis. And I'm convinced I went through basically multiple times, some kind of existential crisis or quarter-life crisis or midlife crisis before I even hit my quarter life. When you hit 24, I feel like I was going crazy in 2011 and 2012. Then again, like that, I think it was a self-induced craziness. Maybe around the 2012 hype, or doomsday calendar. I don't know, it's interesting because people are talking about, what do you call it? Like where they thought everything would stop or something, like in year 2000. I'm not sure. Like Y2K, is that what's called? Yeah, it's interesting as well, because if I'm right, that happened a year before 9/11, which I find rather interesting. That a lot of doomsday events, when nothing happened really, except maybe the dot-com crash, seems to sort of be the beginning of something, I'll say worse happening, but like basically terrorist attack. I'm not saying it happens every time, but I don't know, just when I was a child I used to kind of see the pointlessness of things when I'd learn that the world ends eventually and the sun will grow bigger when it's dying and it will engulf all the planets. Earth will heat up and yeah, it is very depressing. I'm kind of in that state right now. I don't feel like this all the time. I'm sure it could be like a biochemical thing. And one thing I feel that puts me in the middle compared to a lot of people is when it comes to science, I want to find the parts where science meets with sort of spirituality, and it sort of creates sort of synthesis, as opposed to the opposite. I don't think science is at its core is an opposition with spirituality and things like quantum physics and other dimensions and fairies. Like the mythology I've noticed of fairies is pretty much an exact parallel to UFOs. I like being able to interpret things on multiple levels rather than take things just at face value. Like, I think according to theology, Christianity, like Catholicism, or Judaism, or Kabbalah, there's like 7 layers of interpretation, or I suppose levels to enlightenment, which is interesting because it's the exact same level, I mean not level, but it's the exact same, like it's a parallel to the 7 chakras of the body. Am I saying that right? Like, I just, like, I remembered, like, nobody ever once corrected me once when me and some of my friends, well, like 3 years ago, one of my friends, he turned 20, I don't know, I can't remember, like 21, 22, 23, it was a few years ago, so it's all the old news now. And he wanted to try chat roulette, and it was just awful. Like me, my partner as a boyfriend, and like our friend, I think even his mother was there. Like, it was just ridiculous, and some other friends too, like maybe a couple more. Like, he had a sort of small party, I guess, and like all people did were just like we just like randomly flicked through into different chats. It was just people wanking. It was just like utterly disgusting, and his own mother was there witnessing it, and everyone was laughing because, it was a happy time, it was his birthday. But none that creeped me out. Like, not really. I was just like, maybe it's a Slavic thing, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying all Slavic people do this. Maybe it's a more open-minded thing. Like, are all Serbians, like, literally wankers? Like, I don't... Okay, I'll shut up. Like, because again, anything I say is just ridiculous. Like, if I just said how I express myself normally, like, I'd probably be arrested if I said things in public. Like, we don't have free speech in United Kingdom. We really don't. But apparently, Theresa May, she really wants to bring back fox hunting. Well, not her as an individual, I don't know, but like House of Parliament, I guess. Yes, I think. So, yeah, that makes absolutely no sense to me. We're going backwards. But anyway, back to the original point, because that's what I'm really good at. I'm really good at going off point. Is I'm not sure how to pronounce certain things, because I was raised of course I raised to speak English fluently from day one, but I also learned to speak French from day one. If anything, at one point I probably spoke more French for a short while than I did speak English, and now I'm scared I'm losing my capacity to speak French because I've no one to discuss with. So it might be me, it's just being neurotic, but it does happen. People do forget their own language, and then you find out, let's say you go back to your own country and you're, I don't know, in your midlife, and you've realized you can speak the language still because it's somewhere in the back of the memory because you're native. Yeah, it's still there. You don't forget if you learn under a certain age. It's just instinctual. But then you might start speaking with the wrong accent, or a hint of an accent, which is embarrassing. So anyway, chakras. Chakras, I don't know. Anyway, so I literally said several times, man, this game of not game. Well, it's kind of it's on the game, whatever that stupid spinny game is. But anyway, yeah, I kept saying chat roulette for several times, and I was like, why? Why couldn't I just say it properly? And the most embarrassing thing is, my brain just registered it as that, and just randomly start pronouncing it with a French accent, and nobody noticed. I mean, come on, somebody correct me, please. I absolutely hate that when people don't actually correct me. I actually appreciate constructive criticism, but for God's sake, when you're raised in isolation, there's just some things you don't know, and I don't mean language, just concepts, or I don't appreciate grammar Nazis though, even though I am one. I totally am one. I correct myself all the time, but yeah, and it gets pretty bad as well when if I try to do anything intuitive, it comes out so garbled and dyslexic. Not literally dyslexic, but I mean, I was officially seen as dyslexic and probably retarded as a child for quite a while. But I'm not joking, unless I'm sleep deprived or attempting to channel, I guess. I'm not rubbing my nose. Yeah, spelling and stuff goes completely out the window if I try to channel when typing, because I'm on a roll. Same with writing. My writing, I can't read my own goddamn writing once I'm in a flow. So typing is easier because I actually type really fast. A lot of garbage may come out. Oh well, better for me. The more the merrier. I think it's probably easier to write lots and lots of shit as long as you're in a flow, and then maybe contract it afterwards. The problem is, as my parents would say, you speak like you write. And it's even worse in French because when you write a book, a fiction book, or just a book in general, is the language, the form you use to write in French is a lot different grammatically than the grammatical form you use to speak, and that is can be quite complicated and frustrating. And then I realized maybe that's why I write Like, I mean, I speak like the way I write, kind of. I don't do it so much anymore, I think. But yeah, it's pretty confusing. I don't know what I was talking about, again. Excuse me, I'm sleep deprived. Like, I'm an out of order toilet. Gross. That's another thing as well, is, my sense of humor is, like, kind of, like, subtle, to the point I don't think most people get my sense of humor, except the few people who understand my in-jokes of in-jokes of in-jokes. Before, it's funny, people make memes all the time, and I don't even think they're that good. Like, most of them are shit these days. They're not really funny, they're just like, okay, we get it. It's just like, I think it's good to be able to conceptualize things, but, like, what next? The sitting down meme, the picking your nose meme, it's just getting stupid now. It's like, there's always a new trend, especially for the, like, kids these days, so, yes. I think even kids themselves realize that when talking with my partner's little sister. She laughed, when I said, like, so what's the next meme after dabs? The freaking walking meme, the sitting meme. It's just like, okay, we get it. Like, we don't need to sort of compile everything. Like, if you're trying to make memes of really obvious things, or if you're trying to be funny for the sake of being funny, that's not fucking funny. It's fucking boring. You are a fucking boring person. People that try to be funny strike me as not funny. And then again, people who try to be serious strike me as probably more like funny rather than like likely to be taken seriously. Because unfortunately, all my friends, like female, male, young, old people, like relatives, my parents, teachers, maybe not teachers though, I don't know though. Yeah, I've sometimes like gone into these like pseudo rage rants, and every time I'm in a flow of like a rage rant, I find that people find to be funny for some strange reason. Like, they burst out laughing, and I'll literally turn around if I feel that comfortable to do so, and I'll say, like, I'm not even being funny here. Like, how am I so funny? Like, this is not funny. Like, it actually is really frustrating, but I find the only way to get it out in the only appropriate way, if I am angry, is just pointing out to me, it's not funny, and it's not magical either. Like, I just point out the obvious, but for some strange reason, what I find obvious, most people don't find obvious. Well, they seem surprised, but in the case of friends and many people, is just burst out laughing halfway through what I'm saying. It's either that or I look like a fucking clown. I don't know. I'm not that funny though. I wanted to start this like video by saying, like, essentially, I think basically comedy is dead. Like, comedy is utterly dead, because anybody with a true sense of humor now would be ripped to pieces, in my personal opinion, because it would just be seen as anti-everything and offensive and just basically just oppressive, I guess. All the words social justice warriors use, all the words let's call them the extreme left, because I don't want to say the left, and I don't want to say the right either, but let's say extreme left or extreme right. Did you know that the Nazis were a socialist party? That basically means they were like basically the equivalent of extreme leftists. And yet, social justice warriors complain of oppression and the equivalent of Nazism and anti-Semitism, and it's just, don't they realize history is repeating themselves? like history themselves. History is repeating itself. This is crazy. I can't even remember what I was talking about. Like, I was going to say chakras. Yes, it's probably that. When I see CH, words, I want to say sh. So, ch. Because, I don't know, it sounds really harsh. Like, it doesn't sound right. Also, like, I think of a cat in French every single time. I guess I'm trying to like backtrack now. I was talking about, goodness me, concepts. Concepts? Which concepts? Like basically pronouncing of things. Yeah, I can't remember. I have a total block. Like, it's really annoying. I read that like many years ago that like I've seen people do it. Like I've seen when people just like have this like blank, like slightly glazed over look, and it's like they just look like they have the 1,000-mile stare, and then not necessarily obviously traumatized or anything. They just like zone out completely. It, in a sense, it's kind of like daydreaming. You don't necessarily know, like, if the person is daydreaming, someone else is doing it, or they genuinely have, like, there's nothing going through their head. But it's scary because I had two types of zoning out when I was a teenager or kid. And it used to happen so frequently. I prefer the daydreaming one. That was nice. I used to daydream too much to a point I don't think I remembered anything from like, lessons. Like, found boring. And then the teacher, to pick on me, would ask me, not other kids, and I'd look like the fool because I had no idea. And I'd be like, what? Like, it's kind of embarrassing actually, because I liked learning. I always liked learning, but sometimes just imagining spaceships like just landing in front of the White House, or like people having superpowers, is like more appealing than reality, basically, or just basically being bailed out of a situation, dealing with the reality that is. But the other zoning out I had was this, like, everything would go sort of blurry. Like, I'd lose focus, and I'd be kind of aware of it, and then everything would feel sort of like soft focus. Everything would go blurry, but my eyes felt like they had an extra sort of transparent, like, lid, like making everything, yeah, blurry. So my eyes would go out of focus, and nothing then went through my head, like emptiness, like just pure emptiness. And I actually realized that it's I don't know if I researched this or I came across this whilst looking up things on meditation and spirituality quite a few years ago. Maybe it was Wikipedia I ended up on, I wish I could remember. But the name for like completely zoning out into like glazing, your eyes will glaze over, but like there's nothing going through your head. You're sort of in stasis. Nothing is happening, and if you're smart enough, you know nothing is happening. It just ends up. It's basically called an absence seizure, and I've realized that sensitive people probably experience this. Maybe depressive people experience this. But people with predisposed to epilepsy experience this. People with DID, I'm presuming, experience this. People on the autism spectrum experience this. Like, it's all the same thing. It's just it's almost like your brain's shutting down instead of like you're openly like having some kind of, say, meltdown or going crazy or whatever. So I think it's a form of letting off steam, I guess. Now the problem with this is it can become really problematic if you're trying to make a point because of stress or some, say, subconscious trauma is that happened long ago and it's so buried deep. Or simply you have some traumatic brain injury. It could be all these things. It could even be allergies. Like, really, people don't know about this. Or, like, they don't really know what they're talking about. Even, I think, even in psychiatry, I don't think doctors know the full picture either for medical things. I don't think people in spirituality see the bigger picture generally either. I mean, people only see based on what they're trained to see. I don't know if that's any relevant point, but yeah. These absent seizures, that's what they basically are. Like, you have two types of daydreaming. And this one is officially would be called an absent seizure. That sounds absolutely awful, but I think it's got to serve a purpose, because I noticed even before I ever went to India, Indian people, I hate saying this, like, people who live in very crammed environments where it can be quite troubling and traumatic. There's like constant noise, the noise levels are really high, it's overcrowded. Like a place like China, I suppose, has that. India, but the further east you go, I find that it might even tie in with a sort of like spiritual element, like thousands of years of their culture, of potentially some kind of mindfulness. I also think it's a form of collective trauma, like genetic lineage trauma. And I noticed like Indian people like did that, like culturally Indian people, like I'm not saying like they were traumatized or anything, although who knows, I don't know. But when I actually went to India, I had my suspicions confirmed. Like, even watching documentaries of India before I went to India, and like they just, China does this as well. They basically stare into space a lot. Like, China's weird though, because if you're a tourist or in East Asia, they won't stop staring at you, especially in the like areas where tourists don't really go, and it's like kind of uncommon. They'll just think you're like Tom Cruise or something. It's like really weird, and it's maybe nice for a split second if you, because you've seen like some Hollywood celebrity, but it's not nice when you feel like all eyes are literally on you, because they literally are. Hundreds of people, they can't stop staring, and they'll point their fingers at you and just like comment like you're Uyghur and like other silly things. That's what happens to China. It gets actually, that does get traumatic, so you do need to sort of learn to shut down. Because if you take offense and do a stare down back, you're never going to win. I mean, being embarrassed about it is pointless as well, but I understand it's like threatening. It feels like hundreds of people boring into your head, and they'll take in turns to point and stare at you and make comments how you're the white barbarian, or they think you look like some celebrity. The solution is, unless you look like absolutely ridiculous by Western standards, if you have dark hair but you look like a Westerner, just wear like sunglasses and those masks they wear, like because the air pollution is so bad. The sky is dirty, like in Beijing and places like that. It's really bad. Like, the moon looks dirty, basically. So clouded sometimes you can't even see the sun. You can look at the sun and you won't go blind. It's crazy. But anyway, well, I'm tired. So absent seizures. That 1,000-mile stare is a thing, basically, and it makes me wonder, does that mean Indian people are predisposed, or certain cultures are predisposed of having absence seizures? Is this acceptable? And in some of these cases, I think, not just people in certain countries, but I suppose if you're really in tune, you can catch somebody going through an absence seizure when they're like totally out of it. But I mean like so out of it, nothing's going through their head. But I just think it's kind of not seen as acceptable to do this in the West. Maybe in America too. Like you always have to like be pumped up on like coffee, you know. This coffee, by the way, is not really working. I'm already exhausted. It's just simply keeping me afloat so my brain can keep going, but my body's just, I wouldn't say trashed, but sometimes it feels trashed. I try to limit my coffee intake, but like it's the only remaining goodie I have left, and I certainly am not ever going to try energy drinks because that will literally crash my adrenals, and then my immune system, entire body, like probably will feel like it's, my immune system will feel like it's shutting down basically, and it's really frustrating. And that's not nice because that's called adrenal burnout, and it takes, from what I read, even if it's mild, I reckon like 12, maybe in 36 months. I'm like, I don't know if that can be heard, but I'm like basically burping. It was just like, drank too fast. Oh well. I'm so good at like going off point. I feel like I don't know, like crazy schizophrenic. Sleep deprivation does not help. I'm very, very, very tired. Why am I still staying up? I feel like compelled still to mention a few points. Otherwise I just won't. I don't really have the motivation to make videos, really, because YouTube's algorithm is geared towards, unfortunately, American users. If you want to monetize it, it's very unfair because again, YouTube is an American corporation. The only people that are getting paid reasonably outside of America as British YouTubers already kind of were on the bandwagon before it started crashing. It's artificially propped up. Like PewDiePie is composed of fake views. Like people, other YouTubers or British YouTubers. I know PewDiePie is not like British, but he lives currently in London the last time I checked. And it just feels all very temporary. It's not new, this observation. I've noticed there's a bit of a war going on, sort of abstractly, not literally. Information war, where certain things are censored. And there's such a thing as ghost banning on Twitter and Reddit. If you say anything that goes against certain political views or the general consensus, it is literally wiped from search results. It's pushed towards the bottom because they have a system like that. Yeah, pushing this stuff towards the bottom. It's kind of scary, but it's the truth. I have experienced being ghost banned on Reddit for bringing up false information, yet the information I made was just a passing statement. It was not the point. Basically, they picked apart a post I made that had nothing to do with some medical thing, and I argued with the admin, and then they deleted all their own comments, in response telling me to edit my stuff or I'll stay banned. And then they said, we never banned you. They basically gaslit me. And we live in a society where narcissism wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't insidious. Like, I don't think people would be so frustrated about YouTube. I don't think young people would feel hopeless if they could verbalize and conceptualize these feelings they have into something tangible. Now, I don't mean, let's say, like blaming specific people. I mean just like being able to name it. If you don't have a word for love, then how do you know what love is? I mean, you know what love is, but like you feel it, you know it, but you don't know what it's saying, like hate or shame or guilt or whatever emotion. And like a lot of it's based on pain, but if you cannot name it, in a sense you can't really let go of it, I think. I'm not saying create a whole reason behind it, or story even, but that's always bugged me over the years. But yeah, I have experienced having my comments censored and hidden when I've logged into other accounts, especially on more controversial topics like chemtrails, 9/11, not even necessarily 9/11, things on paedophilia, like child trafficking basically, being covered up, news media not covering it as well, one-sided stories in the news on, say, terrorism, controversial things. And I'm careful with my words. I don't just go out and just like blurt out a lot of things I believe in. They'd be insane. Even things on, like, I don't know, aliens and reptilians. Well, not so much aliens, but more so on reptilians. I've seen thousands of tweets in real time be deleted about the Queen shape-shifting. Even like the official royal family website, there was an official page somebody had released on the Queen shape-shifting. It had a little green lock sign. It was the official page, and there's evidence for this. Some people screenshot this. Some people, at the time, I think I recommended my partner to sort of download the pages. I said, look, if there's anything you find, like websites or anything that to be seen as controversial based off your gut feeling, and you feel like it's not going to be around forever, download that stuff, save that stuff, bookmark it, like save the page onto, like, you can like download a web page like as reading material if you're really desperate, because the actual live page could like basically go down. And the thing is, if you use the what do you call it, Wayback Machine, like if you have the exact URL of the page that's gone and then put it in that machine, it will show you, if you go back in time, it will show you the timestamp for it. So the things I have, it's ridiculous. The amount of things I've witnessed or seen, like stuff that just defies this like reality. So many times I've seen things with other friends, witnesses, people, you know, who can confirm we all saw the same thing, we were all sober. I've seen websites go down. Yeah, freedom of speech is dead basically. And it's not just that, we live in a time where everyone's so offended. But the people who are offended play the victim. They talk about this big boogeyman or the oppressor. Like, I'm not saying there's no such thing as oppressive forces. There really is. We still have problems. But
everyone's throwing around. Yeah, everyone misses the point. Like, throw red herrings around and other logical fallacies and just insane things. I feel like people miss the point these days, and they become very offended by everything. They get argumentative, defensive, it's overly emotional, and obviously it's their problem. But like, everyone's like, more and more people are getting collectively, I guess you could say, offended, and as a result, like, stand-up comedians are now being, like, having their shows cancelled, or their stuff is just being labelled as oppressive or anti-Semitic, Semitic, even if they aren't Jewish themselves, and simply they haven't even like mentioned anything at all about. They just lie, basically slander. They just bring up these like random irrelevant points and ban them from their shows, or whether it's through like a TV show, an internet show, YouTube show, or monetization. I had a sort of like favorites. I mean, it was introduced to me, but I've known about for like years and years and years and years and years. So it's like, it's not even new anymore. One of my favorites YouTubers. I sometimes feel like I'm probably like the only like, I'm a special snowflake. I'm the only like, I don't think any women like kind of like watch it like wholeheartedly, but I don't know, like maybe they're out there and they just are really, really quiet about it, or maybe they're lesbians, or maybe they're trans. I don't know, I don't really care. But anyway, like, favorite YouTuber, well, some guy, well, that wasn't his name, but the channel's called $1 Million Extreme, and the guy's name is Sam Hyde. Like, his channel was like, it was so, I don't know, it was like really funny. Basically, I thought it was like more funny than was deemed to be funny, basically, by society standards. The thing is, his stuff was quite offensive, but he offended everyone. But it was like so absurd and insane and crazy. That's the whole point. Like, if you cannot take the piss out of everyone, including yourself, because you got to be able to like accept that you will be laughed at. Ideally, the best kind of humor is where you can laugh at everyone, and like everyone can laugh at each other like willingly. That's called like friends, right? You know, that's called connection, I suppose. And I don't mean this like narcissistic bullying either. I mean, you've got to be like aware of what you're doing. Like, if you're just like saying offensive things all the time, pretending it's funny, and saying I'm just being ironic, I'm just joking, bro, when it's not funny. It's not funny. Like, it's quite childish, actually. I'm basically like just sort of like trying to practice looking at the little thingy whilst I'm going blind because of the stupid light next to it, the webcam, as opposed to sort of I think, yeah, I probably should be looking at the screen, because like, rather than the little webcam thing, because I can't see like what I'm doing. Actually, it's kind of weird, and I can't like practice. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's sending me, making my eyes funny. I'm sure if anybody like came across watching this video, they just think I'm some like rambling crazy idiot. That is a high probability. I do drone on. I could talk till the cows come home. Really, yeah, there's like no end to my rambling talking. I'm like a crazy schizophrenic homeless man on the streets. I'll never run out of things to say. I just wish I could express myself in a more expressive way, because I realize nobody wants to hear the truth. Nobody gives a shit about the facts. Nobody cares. People don't care these days about how other people feel, care, or whatever, like, because they're too occupied worrying about themselves.
and they can't even deal with themselves even, so then they get offended by other people's problems. That's, yeah, it's a form of narcissism, basically. And not only that, oh, I probably should quit this video because I'm really, really tired. Because I'm starting to sort of lose track of my points. I'm making, this is basically a video, like a practice, like video, just like practice talk. Like, yeah, basically forgive me if you don't understand what the heck I'm on about, if I'm going off point, I can't stick to the point. There is no actual point. It's kind of like those videos that have like clickbait titles and you click on it and they're not even talking about the said stuff that's mentioned in the title. It's really frustrating. But yeah, one of my points I want to make for this ridiculously long video that's 1 hour and 1 minute long now is oh my gosh, I'm just like lost my mind. I went blank again. Is oh my gosh, what was I saying? This is like so ridiculous. I'd rewind the video, but I can't because I'm recording a video. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's official. I've lost my marbles, and that's not a first because, you know. What was I saying? Yeah, comedy is dead. You can't tell the truth. Yeah, another thing as well. You can tell the truth, but no one's going to give a shit. And I find most people aren't really interested in what you have to say. They're only interested in the way you say things. And that leads me on to another slight topic, which is I can't figure out for the life of me if I'm a failed extrovert or I'm so introverted. I'm like, what's the expression? Yeah, drier than Gandhi's flip-flops. Flip-flop? I don't know. So, what a disgusting term. Like, it just, ew, like, why did he have dry flip-flops? I mean, that's just, like, how do they know? Do they, like, grab his flip-flop and lick the damn flip-flop? Did they touch his flip-flops when he was alive? Like, it's so, having a very, like, visual way of thinking is frustrating. And yeah, I'm basically always high all the time. I act stoned all the time without being stoned. That's not burst. So yeah. Oh god. So easy to basically just assume, maybe it sounds like low self-esteem coming out here, is yeah, I'm boring. Or I'm not very inspiring. I kind of wish I was. I wish I was able to sort of like convey my points, get across what I want to say, in a sense manipulate, not the conversation, but sort of like get my way. I can't force people, you can't like force feed people information, like, but that they don't want to hear. You can't force feed people medical truths. You can't force feed people intellectual, logical truths, blah blah blah. Anything. And politics and religion is really, those are really dodgy topics, basically. Do you really want to go down that path? Because I don't want to take sides. I cannot stand taking sides. Politics is basically two sides of the same coin. That's why I'm not doing it. That's why I can't do it. can't do journalism anymore because journalism is dead. You now have bots that generate articles. That's why Daily Mail is able to sort of like churn out continuously these articles. They have algorithms. Like, it's basically like, there's this theory that how many monkeys, like what, like under a certain amount of hours, like could a probability that it could type or Shakespeare's works. I don't know if that's really possible, but like, okay, let's say that is possible. If that's the case, we've kind of gone past the stage of monkeys being able to sort of possibly type up Shakespeare's complete works somehow. Like, who comes up with this stuff? But yeah, like, yeah, we have like algorithms with like sort of pre-worded stuff. People don't need to be paid to write articles anymore, because now they can sort of like take bits of articles from other websites and from search engines, multiple search engines. I know Google's the main one now, and they sort of like mush it together, like machines do this, and they create these pre-generated articles. I'm not even sure if there's any humans writing articles behind newspapers. Is that even, like, how is that even news? BBC News doesn't feel like news anymore, really, and it looks more like BuzzFeed. How is that bad to me? It's really bad, because BuzzFeed is basically like pop culture to me. It's just like, it's just there. It's not bad. It's just like, maybe it helps, I don't know, simple people to access this information. But the problem with all this like colourful, enlarged text and simplified text, or like, it's like the simple Wikipedia. You have two Wikipedias technically. I think you have simple English, like sort of simplify things, and then you have like more detailed information, like standard Wikipedia articles. But basically, most news now feels like random crap. I haven't got to journalism. But yeah, it would not surprise me if the algorithms might not say be simply biased, but how can I word this? I think the news has become biased. I think we're going through an information blackout. It's been several years now. Like, we're basically going through the equivalent of World War II, because no one ever said war has to be fought with guns, but the fact is there has been literal wars, but this time around it's not come here to attack us. Like first it was like, you know, during the Crusades, well, it's like Catholicism or something, like that was the invader threat or something. Like, then it was, I don't know, on World War II, not like, no, World War One, like was something in Soviets, yeah, and then like World War II, it was like, you know, involving like basically war, yeah, Jews, and then you have like, now I guess you could say a war on, I don't want to say Islam. It's not that simple. In some ways it is, but it isn't. But there's no need, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you had to look at like planet Earth, I feel like it does go through basically cycles, and like different parts of planet Earth sort of like takes turns of where wars will occur. Like, if you've already had a war, a massive war, you can't go to war in Europe. It's just, look at it. I mean, it's just so developed. Maybe you'd at best accomplish a Cold War, you know, but been there, done that. But it's kind of like almost relatively new, this like proper war in the Middle East, I guess. They're going through their World War II, I guess. I don't know if I'm making sense here. I'm probably like dull. Like, I'm like, probably, to anybody watching this, they might perceive this as me being dull, and maybe I'm dull, but this is just simply practice. Like, to get some ideas out, because the more I talk, the more I can sort of like, I guess, clarify and sort of like put things into a more orderly manner, and I can go to sleep soundly. I don't have to think so hard. It's nice.
I just have too much crap in my head, basically, and I could just wipe that out and just, like, you know, act like the average person. I want to say person, not woman, but being compelled to say that. It's really annoying because, like, I would like to be taken seriously. I really would. I want respect, you know? Just... And it seems to all of a sudden, like, make me not valid, I feel like, as a woman, because I'm talking about these things. Because where are the women talking about these things? I'm aware there's, like, some maybe pretty dry topics. But I'm not sure what to go on, really. I'm not sure what to talk about. And more importantly, I'd like to figure out to make, like, the way I talk about things, the things that interest me, in a more approachable way. Not just, like, in terms of, like, making, like, videos, but I mean in real life, writing, like, when I think back on it, like, I said, like, once to my partner, I said, how do you plant a seed, hypothetically, into someone's mind without, you know, like, manipulating them? You can, like, force it in, like, and, because I've thought this through, and there's just some things I cannot grasp, and I think I do need input from some people, not, like, everyone. Otherwise, I'm able to figure out things by myself. I can ask questions and get answers to my questions by myself. It's really frustrating when you're, like, you spend, like, several years before you get an answer to a question. So, you can read all the books in the world, but sometimes you just need someone there, basically, to answer your stupid questions. And I do that a lot. I ask stupid questions. I can't stop asking questions. I don't know if that's, like, an obsession, like, with, I don't know, truth, information, trying to make sense of things, or just some kind of autistic, high functioning on the spectrum way of processing things. Like, the way I perceive the world is, like, I don't see my interests as obsessive, but to a neurotypical, the average person, or a normie, they would see this, like, kind of behavior as, like, obsessive, basically. And I'm aware of that. I hope so, anyway. And my behavior has come off as quite, maybe not stalkerish, but basically I oscillate between being extremely intense or really, like, cold, which is weird. Like, people have accused me of being too talkative, yet the same people have accused me of being too quiet. It makes no sense. And then, like, people have accused me of being obsessed, in love, infatuated, when I'm not. Really, I'm not. Like, I do not want to jump, basically, every single guy's bones. Maybe my limbic brain somewhere squashed at the bottom hypothetically may do, but my point being is, I don't feel that way. Like, I don't function that way. Like, I don't say I'm asexual. Like, I'm not, obviously. But, obviously, how do you know anyway? It's because, like, well, if you're watching this, you don't know me, so there's just, I don't know, too many layers to, like, I wish I could simplify. I wish I was a simple person. Like, I feel so complex. I'm actually really, really simple. Does that even make any goddamn sense? And I realized the best way to convey things is through humor. Unfortunately, self-expression through the mode of true, genuine, like, really good humor, not just, like, weird forced humor, like, oh, look at me, I'm being so random, like, oh, it's a spoon, like, okay, I get it. This humor's been, like, overused because I think, like, you can't actually use real humor, especially our generation,
Otherwise, it'll just be told off. It's safe humour. It's appropriate humour. It's like no one can be offended, and there's nothing wrong with compatible humour, you know, throughout the entire world. Like, oh, a spoon. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but like, if you want the truth, you've got to basically go where it hurts. Like, and if it hurts, that's good, I think, if you're offended, because it means you need to work on something. I've been saying this for years, but like, I'm tired of having to do that, like be the person bringing out the truth, or feeling like a stupid pioneer, or just having to go through stuff because any information on it, and then it appears several years later, being gluten intolerant, and then several years later, all of a sudden then I have to fill with gluten-free foods. And I anticipate, I expect, like, the world will provide for me in due time, but by the time I get what I wanted, there's like this delay of manifestation in this reality. Like, I don't beg. I find the best way to obtain things is you don't beg for them. Try not to have like sort of internal conflict, I guess. I really think everything's possible. I manifested a person with the same name, the exact same name. That was kind of like an odd combination for a name. Like, it wasn't the most common name, but it wasn't like, it was neither common nor unique. My point being is, the exact same name, surname, and first name became manifested maybe 6 months to a year later, based on this like alias, like name, fake name I made. Like, I didn't want to use my real name, basically, like for some, I can't remember, it's an account, and because, you know, it's fun. Like, the whole, if you have to have your real name on the internet, I mean, I understand, like, yeah, sure, stick to the truth, that's good. But when you're trying to create a personality or character, you know, I find it's good to play around with different identities. And anyway, I created this, like, identity or character temporarily for a short while. I didn't really use it much, like, didn't really use it for anything. It's sort of like to watch videos, I guess. And this girl, woman, whatever, like, she popped out of nowhere, and I thought, holy crap, she has the same name as the alias. Am I saying that right? Like, yeah, the character I made, and oh, it's so weird. Like, sometimes I'll like start, like, I don't know, like, I would say daydream, not like in an obsessive way, but like if it just comes to me, like passively. Months later, it then happens. It's like really like weird. It's not like that magical or anything. If I'm thinking about, yeah, it could be anything. It could be something as simple as a person, an animal. I swear, manifested. Fasted? I don't know. What's wrong with me? Yep, I need to sleep. I feel like I manifested as some new age YouTuber called Infinite Waters. He always uses catchphrase in his videos, like for years now. He would always mention the cat down the road. That's what those catchphrases referring to. His little, I don't know what you call them, idioms, like little, not phrases, not parables, I don't know. Yeah. He always refer to as, like, the cat down the road, and then, like, literally, I wasn't looking for it, but I used to visualize in great detail the cat down the road. And one day the cat down the road appeared, and it kind of creeps me out, basically. And it's like, you know, one time I had no money, and the microwave exploded and created a power shortage, and I had to walk outside, and at night time, luckily I wasn't alone. My partner to a place we just moved in, and there's a box of hot pizza that had been left on the wall, closed. I just lifted the lid. It was totally untouched. I think maybe like one slice has been eaten, and you could tell that basically the student area,
somebody obviously got drunk, ordered a pizza and left it. Like, they couldn't eat it probably. Like, I looked at the pizza, it was still warm, and it was perfect. We had no microwave, the electricity went out. I'm not sure how we ate it, like, I don't know if we ate it by candlelight or something. And I was like, we had no money basically. It was like crazy because we'd use all the money on the bond, and the rent, and the removal, like moving stuff. It was scary actually, and I don't know, I guess I didn't think about it, I didn't worry, I just had faith basically. It's crazy. What was I talking about? I think I've manifested people as well, like, not just people, like the same name as a made up character I made, completely random name, first name, surname, like, it's, cracking joke, don't crack jokes about, like, somebody dying as a joke, like, not them, like, dying intentionally, I mean, like, yeah. I'm not gonna mention that one, it's not very, like, pleasant. Let's just say somebody died within a week of me cracking a joke about them, like, you know, at this, it was a joke referring to something that, like, my parents wanted to give a gift of some, like, stuff, like, this beverage type thing that, and they couldn't find it in the house, like a whole crate, like, year-long supply of, like, some kind of, like, stuff called, like, maybe like a chicory drink, I don't know how you pronounce it, and they don't really sell that stuff in Britain, like, maybe online if you look around. My grandfather wanted that stuff. My parents bought a whole crate of this stuff in France when we moved back to England. Yeah, we could find it, and there were like tons of boxes, even like months later, we still couldn't find it. And I was 15 at the time, and I made a mistake of saying, I said, oh gosh, at this rate, he's gonna be dead before he gets his like chicory drink, because that's what I wanted. And my parents bought him a whole crate to bring back to England so he could have, yeah. He died within a week. Yeah, I'll just say, people, you know, it's not funny, okay? It's just, like, it's fucking depressing, actually. I guess that makes me a special snowflake in some ways, but I'm saying that sort of like sarcastically because I'm so tired and like burnt out. I don't know if I like can pull off sarcasm. Truly, I'm just flatlining basically. Oh gosh, I'm a terrible friend because I emailed a friend my thoughts on nihilism. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, seriously, I need a life. Like, it's, I don't think people appreciate something, I guess you could call an info dump, or an obsessive hobby, or a theory. And I do that with things, I do that with ideas, and I sometimes occasionally do it with people, although I think I've started to grow out of that in the last few years, like being attached to people and obsessed about people. Things to struggle with. Ideas, that's the hardest one. Like, I enjoy studying and learning very much. I need to do something else basically with my life. It's really frustrating. I like how my hair, why do I always have to make a comment on my hair in each video? I like how my hair is like kind of gone almost like sort of pink, like, or it's almost like lilac-y, and it kind of reminds me of the characters, a character from Final Fantasy. I forgot already. Final Fantasy 13? Yeah, Final Fantasy 13.
the character Lightning. She basically is like super grumpy all the time and has like resting bitch face, but her hair is pretty awesome. Like this sort of pinky shade. And my hair's kind of like a similar cut, except my hair is just unfortunately a pile of fluff. Like my hair, like it's actually really like poofy and fluffy. To anybody watching this, please forgive me. If you got this far, you're insane. You're wasting your time. I don't know, like, I can tolerate listening to 3-hour-long videos of people talking about stuff, their own ideas, if I have excess energy, or if I'm learning, or I'm just open to somebody rambling for like ages and ages. Like sometimes that's nice. But I don't know why I'm making these videos really. Like there's literally no reason, no motivation. I think that the main motivation is, again, I just want to like practice getting into the flow of things, discussing things, also observing my posture and my voice and the way I conduct myself, because I sometimes like give off the wrong signals. Like that might be an introvert problem, or like when I get so caught up with my own ideas, I forget I have a body. I essentially end up in a like trance. It's very frustrating. I'm like I'm in my eyes or brain, and even that feels like it's sort of like being projected like outwards, and it's not even in me, and it's awful because I have to like do things, and like if I don't do them, like snap back into my body. Am I ever my body? I don't know. Like the only time I'm in my body, it's not a very comfortable experience. That's what I can say. And it takes so many adjustments and readjustments to finally be satisfied and comfortable in my body that at that point I'm just like, I'm done. Like, does that make me a narcissist then, if I spend hours and hours just sort of like feel comfortable in my own skin, my own body, to be satisfied with the way I look, the way I feel, the way I preen myself or whatever? And like, one thing I do find that helps, even though I'm currently sleep deprived, is like I don't want to say I'm like big on crystals. Like it's kind of like my secret. I don't discuss these things with like everyone. Like I like to keep a lot of things like sort of like private, and I understand not everyone gets that. Not everyone feels the same thing. Like they would feel though probably the same thing if they could just get in touch with how they feel, and if they maybe meditate and stuff. Yeah, but like I like this crystal, like because it seems to help with like grounding, and it looks like really glowy as well. I don't think this like focuses, but basically a stick of selenite, which seems to this one's good because it doesn't seem to like run out of charge, although I'm not feeling much at the moment. I'm too exhausted to like process this. Although just as I say I can't feel it, I start feeling it. It's nice. It feels like feels alive basically. It feels like a warm pet. Pets usually are warm. They are like moving hot water bottles. Didn't you know that? But yeah, I never complain as long as they don't smell. Basically, like if an animal like basically comes to sit on me and they're not like gross and flea ridden, and they're like maybe cute and fluffy, don't smell. And I'm quiet, well behaved. Like I don't mind having a portable hot water bottle that moves around. But basically, what I like about selenite is if you're in tune already, because there's no point just like buying loads of crystals and then you just like feel nothing. I try to go based on like, I'm a sucker for this, but I go for things based on how powerful they are, logically speaking. I go for things based on what they look like. Now this usually works, but it doesn't always work. I really do struggle with the crystals are supposed to be like powerful, like not powerful, but the conventional one that everyone has that helps. Crystal, like pink, yeah, rose quartz basically. Seems like a lot of people like seem to feel that one. I don't really feel it though. Like I hate having to have like faith on that one. It's really frustrating. I like roll cuts of pink quartz. That's better, I think. But I seem to like the ones like sort of like feel electric. But this one's good because it's the first time it feels like soft, basically, like really warm, like a warm blanket or a pet. It's kind of like a pet, basically. Again, I have to really be in tune to actually start feeling something already. And just know what's happened. This one's actually been not feeling. I've not been able to feel much for a while. I'm a bit, I guess you could say, upset. But I mean, some people would say the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. Really. It's why I get sometimes frustrated, annoyed with the spiritual New Age community as well, because I feel like they're sometimes fobbing me off. I feel like they're just like it's all hot air basically. And as I said much earlier, the way I speak and the things I'm interested in might be seen as me being rather masculinized. I don't like that actually, because I try not to put a label on like men who have certain interests. Like how's being an artist like makes you effeminate? I don't understand. If a woman does the same thing, what, she's butcher all of a sudden? I'll agree, like sometimes it's kind of weird, like when you see a woman like maybe into heavy metal, I guess, but I don't know. Like, depends on the whole attitude. Like, I think if you want to be seen a certain way, if you want to be seen as feminine or masculine, you just have to give off the, I guess you could say, the right energy, body language, or dress code or whatever, but more so energy. Let's just stick with energy. And I think that works better rather than like trying to sort of fit into a box of like, yeah, if you're a girl play with dolls, if you're a guy play with trucks and Legos. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like, but it's not to say like girls should be forced to play with the opposite gender stuff and vice versa. I just was naturally drawn to, I don't want to call it masculine, but genderless. Like, even if it is seen as masculine, I don't see as anything. So it's really frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And I've grown up, and I still like those same things. I haven't really changed that much. I'm working on basically trying to work with, I guess, being myself. I'm feeling comfortable with some abstract femininity, but I see as like something more of an idea of being graceful rather than being overtly like super womanly, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I don't feel like I can do that. Like, and if I was a guy, I don't think I could be like some macho man, you know, like I'm a man. Like, no, that's just so wrong. As a woman, I can't. It doesn't feel right, you know. Not like 24/7, especially when I'm talking about things like not politics.
just this stuff I'm talking about, basically, this abstract stuff. I don't see as any particular gender. I don't see as masculine. I will admit there's not, like, I don't have any, like, female friends I can, like, talk to about stuff. I've tried. I've realized I can talk about these so-called boring topics. Hard to topics, if just kind of hard, I don't know, to get across. Ideologies, maybe. Ideas. If I can convey them in a more emotional sort of functioning way. And I don't mind being emotional, it's just like I have so much difficulty with that at the moment. And that basically makes me a bad actor, actress. I find it kind of weird now, like all of a sudden, like female actresses are now labeled as actors. I'm like, well, I guess, yeah, you know, I was like, yeah, sure, if you want to call yourself an actor, why not? But what was wrong with actress? I thought it sounded like graceful, precisely. Like, that sucks. Yeah. I suppose you want to be gender neutral, but yeah, maybe call yourself an actor. I don't know. But I wish I could sort of like convey, again, ideas, theories, the boring truth into a more relatable way. Otherwise, you know, if you want to alienate everyone from your life, just basically just be a rambling, like, facts box. Just talk in a really monotone, dry voice and crack really weird humor that doesn't even register on most people's, or in most people's reality, and therefore they just look at you blankly because they don't get it. I don't know, it's really frustrating. I'm wondering if this is like a typical INFJ problem. Yeah, I think it also could be like an INTJ problem, according to the Myers-Briggs test. But it's just a test. It's not like, doesn't make you who you are, really. I find it's very useful to know those things though, so it's helped me understand and in some way stop beating myself up for seeing myself as flawed, for not, I don't know, just like acting like how I perceive most people to act, or most women to act. I think the energy I give off is very, very, very yang. Like, it's a yin. And it's really annoying me now because it's like, I'd like to sort of meet in the middle. I'd like to be more balanced because that's how I've always seen myself as. I've never really seen myself as male or female, masculine or feminine. When I was growing up, I didn't go around like thinking in terms of race and gender. I tried not to anyway. Like I didn't care. Like but it seems like most kids are taught to take sides. Most people are taught to take on labels. Most people are taught to hate for no reason, dislike things for no reason. You know, when you get racist kids, for instance, they didn't learn that by themselves. They got that from their parents, or they got it from somebody else, or they got it even from their teachers, because the teachers allow it on a certain level, or they got it from society, or they got it from sort of like gang, like peer pressure mentality. I really don't like taking sides, and it makes me look like a kind of wimp, I guess. This is like so ridiculous because, yeah, why am I making this video? Ideally, I'd like to be able to talk about things I like to talk about in the future. Things I'd like to deal with by myself would be, I mean, I might as well like read what I wrote before I like scribble all over it, and I already did, and this is terrible. Why did I do this? Like, because I can write like lists till the cows come home. Doesn't mean anything's going to get done. Might as well talk it out. Typing, I mean writing. I'll just lose it, you know. I'll forget about it. So yeah, the things I was like planning eventually for the future to talk about would be the concept, like different concepts for like spirituality, like playing devil's advocate in terms of new age ideologies, and one of them, the subset would be like, I can't believe I'm going down this route, really. I don't even know if I want to. This is like so not me. Like, maybe it is me, but it really isn't me. I don't know. Just the concept of twin flames. Oh, I said that out loud. Like, just why? Why? Like, yeah. Probably stuff on relationships in general, I guess. Different philosophical ideologies. I'm just starting to get sick of that word, philosophical. Like, because it doesn't really mean anything. It's just I guess discuss my feelings on how I feel. Like, basically how to conduct my life in the most effective manner. It's kind of like selfish, basically. But I find like observing different cultures, philosophies helps. I dare not say it because I feel like I'm also like ripping off this, not like other YouTuber or friend or maybe several friends. Goodness me, I feel like I'm a thief or an imposter. But maybe at some point discuss like comedy, like the idea of comedy or humor, having a sense of humor. Because I find that's the only viable. It's the only viable, like, storytelling and comedy. It's the only way to sort of get across the truth, basically. I'm not even like thinking of actually using it or anything. It's just I'd like to sort of understand it basically better. Like you know, it's most people don't question why they find something funny or why they laugh. I'd like to understand the sort of like structure behind it in general. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. I don't think this would have ever crossed my mind years ago. However, I was interested in like method acting and just the idea of acting and putting on different masks. I was interested in like personalities and just what makes a person tick. That I used to be like, yeah, really obsessed about that. Another topic to talk about, but I'm starting to get tired of it. In some cases, would be narcissism. I feel like I'm already doing that by simply just like bringing awareness to it. I don't need to like talk about the whys, hows, and just going in story mode, talking about narcissism. It's not really enjoyable, to be honest. It's quite draining. Sometimes it's useful to get out of your system, but especially if you experience narcissism or you see a collective narcissism, or you've been gaslit into believing you're insane. Like, I can't believe like it's actually based on a film. The term, like all these terms for narcissism, they've had to be made up because there's some like concept for this madness so years ago. Can you imagine the people that have had to live with like narcissistic abuse or collective narcissism an entire lifetime? There's no name for it. That must be really frustrating. I do find though, once you
coined the terms, or you figured out, like you got so used to it, understanding, I do think it's a good time to sort of like throw away those concepts or those labels and identities. Not necessarily like once you've learned. I mean, you do throw it away, as in like once you feel like it's like burned into your mind. Then maybe you can start letting go with obsessing once you like start to process all these experiences around narcissism, basically. Another one I'd like to talk about is this is a hard one because like maybe it's better to sort of like just have fun with it rather than explain it. I might as well bring this up because nobody's actually going to listen to me. No one's going to give a shit, really, in real life. Like, when, like, I researched stuff on health, alternative health, different modalities of health, like, to the point, like, the stuff, if you were basically a doctor, like, mainstream doctor, like trying to talk about these things, like alternative health, the kinds of things I've researched, you'd probably lose your license, basically. And I hate being that controversial person, but it works. It just works. Like, you know, medicine is medicine. It's like, if it works, it's medicine, basically. And I find it important to discuss to a certain degree stuff I've learned on health, even if it's a bit dull and dry, in the future, or at least like, I don't know, maybe recipes or something, not in this like manner, like this would like totally suck, because like you could have allergies you don't know about, like most people, like I don't know, I think people need, I feel like I need to help people, like give some pointers, but I'm not really interested in like pursuing a medical profession either, because I'd probably lose my license, you know, precisely if I did go down a route, you know, 10 plus years on top of a degree, medical school, and no, it feels so restrictive as well. I was thinking in terms of natural health, alternative health, because I don't realize how much, basically, like I have a lot of experience. I guess I got it from my mother and then my grandmother, and just getting exposure to nature, because I do have knowledge on herbs and stuff, like just intuitively, or like plants or things like that. And sometimes herbs, like in the long term, it might take longer to act than say taking like antibiotics or like standard medicine, which has even bigger side effects in my personal opinion, like herbs or fruits and berries and things like that. I think stuff like that would be good to mention, maybe in the context of like a more fun setting, because it worked for me, or like stuff on minerals, like the mineral world and crystals, like humans are basically deficient in like over 50 different minerals now through modern agriculture. It's really, really, really bad. Like you could be technically eating a healthy diet, it's better than nothing. You could be plant-based and vegan, as in like eating plants. I don't mean like shoveling like loads of bread down your throat. That's not good as well if you're gluten intolerant or a genetic predisposition, where you can't digest the proteins, for usually bread. Not always bread, because other things contain gluten, but basically grains. Some people are genetically built like to digest that, and it can scrape your insides, and in the long term it stops you from absorbing nutrients from other healthy foods, and then you wonder why you're super skinny or you're fat and you can't lose the weight. Yeah, like it really is that simple, basically. Like if you look at the sort of like big picture, in terms of health. I find, I don't know, like, but I do find it's important anyway to mention, like, it's ridiculous. Each point I'm making that I want to mention in, like, if I make videos on different topics for myself, because I realize I don't feel like writing them necessarily, like, not at this point anyway. It would make my hand ache. Yeah, I don't know if that's all of it. Basically, I think talking this out would help better. I mean, it's not a replacement, but I think it would help in offsetting, dumping literal, what you could call info dumps to people, like walls, giant walls of text, and then these people think, oh, that's so insane, like, get a job, get a life. Even with a job, oh, you have to act even more fake. Yeah. There's also some pretty boring topics when I think about it, because I like to talk about more mystical things, but sort of like bring them down into the sort of like this reality. But since I'm in the process myself doing this and taking my own journey, I want to experience things beforehand before I actually write or talk about them, because otherwise I feel like I feel like a scientist in that I need to sort of test and retest things, do things over and over and over and over again, different possibilities, even just things go wrong, so I can be sure that something works. When it comes to intuitive stuff though, I find that based off the feeling based systems, well, you know, as opposed to a logical brain, I think experiencing something just once when it's an emotional kind of thing is good enough if you're in the right state of mind, or you experience something mystical or insane, basically, that defies all laws of logic, basically. I find that quite enlightening. So I might just basically talk about my experiences, like the UFO sightings I've seen, like maybe links and photos. They're really like bad photos, so because of course, like, it's just Murphy, some people say Sod's law or Murphy's law. It's just when you forgot your phone that day that there's happened to be a UFO sighting, and the phone, I didn't have a phone back when I saw like a UFO sighting at one point. I had no phone, I was in a foreign country. And even when I did have a phone years ago seeing UFOs, the camera phone would have not worked. And it certainly won't work at night either. It always happened like that. It's like, it's never when you're ready. Like, life just goes on. Things just happen when whether you're ready or not. And that I hate as a chronic, lifelong procrastinator. Maybe I should like also talk about procrastination. Like, other things. I suppose to add to the list I could talk about channeling, but until I get round to that I need to figure out to channel myself. Like, it's all like practice with different personalities, method acting, like until it becomes like a sort of natural, I don't know, what do you say, a second instinct, I guess. This coffee by now has lost all its purpose. And I swear, since the beginning of starting this video, even though I haven't really paid that much attention, I look more tired than I did when I started out making this video. I look like totally dead. But my hair looks cool, I think. And if no one's going to pat me on the back, I will pat myself on the back, because why not? And my back actually, like, hurts. Or shoulders. So yeah, potentially I could practice doing, I didn't actually consider doing this, but now that I've experienced it, like, I find the idea of energy work potentially interesting. Because it's just like, conventional medicine, and even alternative medicine, I find it's kind of hard to get into for the time being. So maybe practice on things like energy work. I don't like the term light worker. I prefer the term shaman, but like I don't like that either, to be honest, because I find like a lot of shaman people type things, self-proclaimed shamans, they seem a bit, in my personal opinion, scruffy, scrawny, scraggly, bratty. Basically the way I look myself right now, like some tall, dirty ass hippie. But I don't like that term either. I don't like labels. Yeah, I use so many. It's ridiculous. I like order. You know, like, it's extremely frustrating. I have had some very strange experiences of accidental channeling without verbally discussing it, but it was so vivid, and I don't know, I never felt so much love in my life. I sound like somebody that took loads of drugs, it's crazy, but I'm the kind of person who's like quite skeptical about a lot of things. I was raised very religious in a Christian sense, and that it's demonic to mess around with things. The term demon, by the way, has no positive nor negative connotation. That's actually sort of typecasting as them as all the bad guys. Like, why would they all be the bad guys? Like, why are all humans bad guys? They're just basically whatever, like interdimensional beings. You know, if we live in a 3D plane, they're basically 4D, I guess. I'm sure we have different like dimensions, but it's not hard to imagine, according to modern laws of quantum physics and string theory and bloody blah blah blah. Does it even matter? Like, does drawing the line actually matter in the end? Like, because this stuff is real. UFOs are real. They're basically just interdimensional things, and even if they're not, like, I mean, they're just there. Like, if they're like, the fact they can like walk in and out of just like reality means they're like sort of processing probably from a sort of like 4D reality, at least, like our perception of time. I mean, time, for instance, the theory like time is could be wrong, 4D, something like that, but time doesn't exist. And basically, if you are outside of time in another dimension above, like say 3D and 4D or whatever, you should be therefore able to manipulate time. And when I think about it, there's absolutely no need to go beyond the speed of light, because you could just appear there in an instant if you are out of time and out of space, because space is also probably an illusion, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't matter if it's like, you know, like there's aliens in Earth, or there's aliens out there in space, or like, it doesn't matter. Even the name alien is kind of like, you know, restrictive. There's different modes of consciousness, and it's not like, if a tree's alive and if a rock's alive, like a crystal, why would we be the most advanced beings out there? Why would everything revolve around us? That's very presumptuous. I don't know.
Like, if you can channel spirits, you'd have to basically be insane to reject the idea of UFOs. Like, I'm an all or nothing person. It's just like, I don't know, like, I'm sure there's like sort of maybe a mathematical equation or theory to this, but I believe there's such a thing where everyone in certain realities can be right, like everything like can coexist in harmony, and that all these crazy beliefs you may have, they are actually real. And if they're not like real, depends, I don't know how many people are manifesting that reality. It may exist just in another dimension or parallel reality. I really believe that stuff. I don't need to believe that stuff. Like, it's sort of like in unknowing. But you have to sort of like have a sort of feeling of certainty. Not say delusion. You just know it. Kind of like, you know, when you casually daydream, or you get inspiration. You're not begging and looking and searching for ideas, or even expecting to sort of maybe a bad frequency. You're not demanding the universe for it, and all you get is a lack, for instance, according to the law of attraction people. I don't know. Like, if you're doing things wrong, basically. It's really not that hard, I suppose. Like if you can manifest things, you know, what goes to say we're not just a manifestation of someone else's reality. But then that's going on to simulation theory, simulation reality. I'm not sure if I'm being coherent here, because I'm really, really, really unbelievably, I'm still tired. Why am I still up? Like, just, like, why? Seriously. Because if I don't do this now, I might never do this, basically, and even one person watches this, and gets an idea for something else, I think that's progress. If a light bulb appears in their mind, well, that's progress. If they are triggered and annoyed and pissed off, then that's progress. I've been known to send people to sleep, though. Talk them to sleep. Yeah. Oh. How many, like, I don't know, maybe it's a boyfriend thing, I don't know, just, how many times a day? Literally talked, and I turn around, well, I'm looking at them, and they're just like, yeah, they've gone to sleep. Ouch. But, I feel pretty bad though when I do that, so I think, you know, if I'm going to ramble, like, insane stuff, I might as well do it for YouTube. I hate it though so much. Just like, I do wish, like, I could basically be paid to talk. That would be nice. That would be really, really nice, because then they would help, like, motivate me. And most of all, at the end of the day, it would be really, really nice, like, to be accepted. I feel, you know, I just wonder for who I am. But at the same time, I wonder if it's possible for, like, you know, to basically be accepted, to be respected, to be, I don't know, loved, as well as for them to take into consideration your theories and ideas. And I don't expect people to agree with my harebrained ideas. It's nice to be able to sort of, like, throw an idea, and then they throw another idea back, and you can both, like, create a synthesis, like a bunch, like, or even better, take action upon those ideas. Like, there's no need to take action upon ideas and theories, but, you know, it keeps things going, because conventional conversations, conventional social graces, I wish I could just, like, skip past all that bullshit and just, like, you know, connect with people. That would be nice. And the problem is, when I do that, if you do that too soon with some people, you know, just anybody really, they get freaked out and defensive, especially. And sometimes it's best to just keep certain things to yourself.
not everything has to be voiced out loud. Not everything has to be dumped upon somebody because they have their life to live, I guess. Like, we do have a limited time on Earth. Why would you want to spend it listening to somebody talking? I do, but I'm insane, I guess. I like these basically nobody YouTubers with like no views, basically, or hardly any views. And I just hope, oh man, this stuff's really, this is like, I don't know, it feels special, kind of. It's nice. It's more personal, it's more real, it's like genuine, basically. I'm basically wearing headphones because I don't want to play any background music. And if you're watching this, I should have really said this at the beginning, but if you use a computer and your computer can handle it without crashing the CPU, be careful. I'd play a video of some music or something. I don't know, like do something, you know, just listen to this doing nothing and like plonk your ass and just like, oh, I'm just gonna listen to this. You may do if you want, but like I can't find like royalty free music to superimpose on this like video I'm making. I can't be bothered editing it, and even if I could edit it, it's so time consuming, and it actually kind of, I could swear using video editors kind of wears down computers a lot. It starts crashing them too. But anyway, yeah, it's heavy duty stuff, time consuming, and ain't nobody got time for that, because I really don't. Nobody's got time for like perfection anymore. It's getting really ridiculous. So yeah, I'm just listening to yeah, some binaural beats. I'm not sure which one it is, because why not? Feels nice, sounds nice, gets you in the right brainwave state. Why not? You are basically insane if you have managed to get to the end of this, because I might not even have a follow-up, even though I promise potentially to make videos on such future potential topics that I'm not getting paid to do, and it's kind of really depressing. Not being paid wouldn't be so bad if I could basically talk to people and connect with them. Certain things I'm like sort of give them ideas. I wish, I don't know, I wish I could like basically, I guess, inspire people. Yeah, maybe not inspire people, but just maybe their lives can change. Something small, anything. Maybe you'll just promise to do something else, like that they wouldn't have thought of before listening to this. This video is a bad example. Like, this is basically me venting, sort of. I'm tired of like opening up to people when they don't want to sort of like listen, but they can't. Like it's exhausting. Like you need therapy for that, you know. If you vent too much, I guess. I'm sure it could help over time. But in terms of just like the way my brain thinks, like I've always like the way I perceive things, like the way I feel it is obviously different to the way I think sometimes. But I have so many crazy ideas, so many questions. Sometimes, I could empty my brain, I suppose, at will, get rid of all those ideas. But I find if I don't mention anything, if I don't, talking helps me to like come up with ideas as I go along, basically. It's immensely frustrating. I understand not everyone thinks the same, logically speaking. That's the thing though, I think at our core humans do feel the same if we did connect. It doesn't matter if you're extroverted or introverted, we, in theory, should, like, we could, we all feel the same. Heartbreak, happiness, sort of, but when it comes to logic and ideas and thinking, people can think very differently. And I'll admit, I feel a bit disconnected from the world. People I want to be close to, and I'm worried that just my ideas are creating this barrier, and it's not very creative. But I don't always want to be obviously creative. That's exhausting too. You know how hard it's to combine your theories into creative modes, whether it's music, art's it's more of an emotional thing, I feel. Film, writing, in creative writing, humour, just I don't know, anything creative really. Trying to sort of put your own truth or your own ideas into creative endeavours is actually quite hard. I feel like, sort of create a synthesis. I try to go based on intuition, so it's more fluid. But I'm not really creating anything. I'm not really a content creator. I've been a content consumer for years, and I've all this knowledge bursting in my head, and it's just like, what do I do? What do I do with it? What's the point of it? Do I just forget it? Empty my mind? I don't know. Pre-knowledge me? What's pre-knowledge me? I don't know. Pre-knowledge me? Probably couldn't even read and write, so it's a very cemented, heavily belief system. It worked. Or I could be chronically, existentially, just simply depressed, and I'm now very sleep deprived. I'm very tired. I should approach sleep. And yes. Thank you for thank you for listening.